Hi everybody, welcome back. I hope you're all doing well. So in today's video,
ladies, this is the #1 way to not be unalived by your boyfriend or your husband. I'm a criminal defense attorney, and there is this phenomenon in criminal law where I use very gendered terms in this video, so please excuse that. But this is specifically focused on cis men, boyfriends, and significant others. When you are going to leave your partner, when you ultimately decide, hey, it's time to go, do not do it in person. Do not do it alone. Do not do it in a private setting. There is decades of case law, case after case after case, where the woman decides to leave the man, and that moment that the man realizes she is actually leaving, this is not a threat, this is not, just sort of a fight, that she is actually going to go, that is the moment that, I don't know how to say it on TikTok, but that is the moment when the unaliving occurs. So there's just sort of decades of precedent where this situation has happened. There's actually an entire section of case law in my criminal law textbooks in law school going over cases. They're called the heat of passion crimes. You might be thinking like, oh, but he's different, or not him, or but I love him, or we've been married for X number of years. I guarantee you, every woman who is now the subject of case law in a criminal law textbook thought the same exact thing. So please, I know I make goofy, stupid videos on TikTok, but this is probably like, please take this advice. I know breaking up with someone over the phone sucks. I've been the recipient of it. I know that breaking up with someone over text sucks. I know that maybe doing it at a restaurant or in a public place, but if there's any sort of history of aggression or violence in this person's background, or you just sort of have that sinking feeling where you're like, maybe there's like a 1% chance of like an extreme reaction, please just do it. I'd rather you be a jerk who broke up with someone over the phone who is still alive than someone who is the next person in a legal textbook. That sounds really dramatic. That sounds really extreme. But it's your life and you only get one of them.
Yes, I shared a video maybe a couple of weeks ago with the title, Why You Should Leave Quietly, right? Now, in this video, a lot of women shared stories about why they have decided not to break up with men in private, but rather over the phone, over text, and so on and so forth, but never in private. And some of the stories are super long, I have to warn you. So I'm going to play a couple or maybe 3 of those stories, okay? Because I don't want this video to be too long. Now, if you are interested in hearing more of those stories, let me know so I'll do a part 2, okay? So you can comment part 2 if you want to hear more of the stories, okay? But I'm going to just play maybe 2 or 3 in this particular video, and I want you to leave your thoughts and opinions in the comment section. Let's get into that, and don't forget to subscribe. Thank you very much.
Ladies, this is the #1 way to not be unalived by your boyfriend or your husband.
This is one of the biggest lessons that I have had to learn as a woman dating in my adulthood. He goes on to say that when you get to the point where you are about to end the relationship, do it over the phone. And if you have to do it in person, do it in public. Do not do it in private. And after my last dating experience, I will never again end things with a man in person, in private. It is culturally instilled in us from a young age that the right thing to do is to end a relationship face to face. But honestly, that is just not worth risking your life, especially if there is any doubt in your mind that this man has any sort of violent tendencies or is not all the way. In my last relationship, when things were starting to fall apart and we were starting to have conversations around potentially no longer continuing the relationship, I started to realize that he was not reacting to these conversations in the way that typical adults respond. It was obvious to me that he was not all the way happy either, but whenever we would get to the point in an argument where it was like, yeah, I'm actually going to end the relationship, things would escalate to a level that I just could not comprehend. And while it was obvious that this relationship was not going to end in a non-dramatic fashion, it never occurred to me that that could actually be very dangerous for me. The night that I had finally had enough and decided to end it, we had gotten into a fight at dinner. I waited until we got home from dinner to end the relationship. I didn't want to cause a scene in public, and I felt like, well, this is a private conversation. It should take place in a private setting. So as we are having this breakup fight and I tell him that I am done, I can see that it's not registering in his brain that I'm actually being serious until I start packing up my belongings. So I grab all my belongings, I put them in a bag, I put on my backpack, and I go to walk out. And at this point, I can see it click in his eyes that he realizes I am serious and that this relationship is over. The moment this happens, he races to the door, stands in the door frame, and blocks me from leaving the apartment. At the time, I had never experienced anything like this, and I did not realize how serious this was. I thought he was just being dramatic. But as he is refusing to let me leave, my adrenaline is starting to rush and I am getting increasingly panicked. I finally get past him and I think, oh, thank God, I'm out the door, I'm fine, I'm safe. And right when I think that, I get snatched up like this. I had a backpack on and he grabs the handle of the backpack and yanks me back. So safety tip for women, whenever you're wearing a backpack, never wear both straps of the backpack. From that day forward, I always only carry a backpack with one strap. In the event that another man ever tries to grab me, I can drop the backpack off my shoulder and run. So at this point, I am panicking. We are standing in the hallway. He is holding my backpack. The straps are pressed up against my shoulders. I cannot get away. I cannot move. My only thought is start screaming. So I start yelling in the hopes that causing enough commotion will get him to drop the backpack and leave me alone. And it does. But there is another door at the end of the hallway, which he then runs to and blocks as well. At this point, I'm realizing there's two more doors. There's a staircase and there's a parking garage I have to get to and out of in order to get out of here. And I realize it is in my best interest to now de-escalate the situation because I am scared for my safety. And I know that even if I get out of here tonight, like this breakup is not going to end tonight. This is going to continue and this is going to be something that's drawn on and very dramatic that I just don't want to deal with. So I choose to de-escalate the situation, tell him never mind, and I will stay and go back into the apartment with him. So at this point, I just tell him, look, I am past my limit with you. I will give you a pass tonight, but if this happens again, the thing that happened to cause the initial fight, I'm done, I'm gone. So he is acting amazing for the next couple days. If you guys have ever dealt with a master manipulator, I now understand how y'all end up in these relationships, because for the life of me, prior to him, I could not understand how people got into situations like this. So I stay in the relationship for 4 more days because, again, I didn't understand at the time how serious that behavior was. A large part of me still just thought, oh, he's being dramatic. But sure enough, the original offense that caused that big fight in the first place happens again. But this time I was like, okay, I'm going to be smart about how I go about this breakup. Instead of being impassioned and acting on my impulses in the moment, I waited for him to leave and go to work. While he was at work, I packed up all of my things, moved my car out of his garage, and moved it onto the street. I knew if I broke up with him over the phone, he was going to show up at my apartment, and that was something that I wanted to avoid. So I felt like it was better to do it in person, in public. I parked my car on a very crowded street, both with pedestrian foot traffic and car traffic. I knew it was going to be rush hour when he got home, so I knew there would be a ton of cars sitting on the road next to us, and I parked right in front of his building security that I knew could watch the whole interaction go down. Sure enough, he gets home from work, parks behind my car on the busy street, but this is where I went wrong because he was taking too long to get out of his car. I got impatient, got out of mine, and got into his. Y'all, don't do that. But I did leave the passenger door open. So I confront him in the car about his behavior, and I let him know I'm done for real, like this relationship is over. I then go to get out of the car, and at this point, he reaches out and grabs my arm. I am telling him to let go of my arm, and it is becoming apparent to me that he is not going to let go of my arm, and he has no plans of letting me out of this car. I'm wearing a jacket, so my first thought is, okay, take off the jacket because then maybe he'll lose the grip on my arm and he'll just be holding the jacket. So as I'm trying to take off my jacket, he realizes what I'm doing. He lets go of my arm. I sprint out of his car, jump into the driver's side seat of my car, but he jumps out of the car as well, and he follows me. When I get into my car, he steps in between the door frame and the door so that I can't close it, and is holding the door open with both arms wide. At this point, I am still talking calm to him. I'm talking to him exactly like I am talking to you guys now, but my adrenaline is starting to spike. As he is pleading for me not to leave, it is becoming apparent to me that he has no plans of moving. Again, y'all, this is rush hour on a busy street. There are people walking by. There are cars not only driving by, but stopped next to us watching what is going on. I tell him, you need to step away from my car or I am going to run you over. He says, run me over. I'm not moving. So I say, okay, and I step on the gas. I'm thinking, like any logical person, he is going to back away from the car when he realizes that I am serious. But no, he is not a logical person. He jumps into the car onto my lap. He grabs the steering wheel with one hand, holds the door open with the other hand, and is kicking my foot out of the way so he can get to the brake Now I start screaming. I am scared. I am panicking. I do not know what to do to get this grown man off of my lap so that I can get away and go home. Mind you, I deliberately picked this spot because I know that he hates causing scenes in public. And not only was this in public, but it was in front of people that he knows, his building security. But as I'm getting increasingly panicked, I feel like it's in my best interest to cause a scene. So I start screaming. Everyone is staring. People are yelling out their cars. Oh my God, are you okay? He yells back, she's fine. I'm her boyfriend. She's breaking up with me. At this point, this girl who is driving by rolls down her window and starts recording. I tell him, hey, we're being recorded. I really don't want to be on the internet. Please get off of me so I can go home. His response is to scream at her, record us all you want. She threatens to call the cops. I then tell him, if you don't get off my lap, I am also going to call the cops. Cars are flying by. My car door is wide open. I'm thinking like they're going to hit my car door. My car is going to break. I am like jerking my car back and forth, just trying to figure out how to get him off of my lap and make him lose his balance so he will get out of my car. I tell him I'm going to call the cops. He tells me to call the cops. So I call the cops. I call 911. I'm on the phone with a 911 operator. I give her his full name, his description. And the whole time I'm on the phone with 911, me and him are screaming at each other back and forth, and he still will not get out of the car. The operator tells him if he does not get out of the car, she is going to send the police. At this exact moment, a woman on the street sees us and comes over and intervenes. I don't know who this woman was or where she came from, but God himself sent her down because she was twice his size and looked like she lived in the gym, okay? She came up to my car and was like, do we have a problem here? At this point, he gets off of my lap, steps away from me, still is holding the door open. But as this woman is approaching and yelling at him, and as the 911 operator is telling him that she's about to send the police, he steps away just far enough from the car. The woman from the street turns to me and she just says, go. So I slam my door, I hit the gas, and all the cars stop driving to let me out, and I zoom on the freeway and I zoom to my apartment. He then calls me 39 times. I pack up all my belongings and I go stay at home with my parents for a week. I had to order extra security cameras to put around my apartment and extra locks to put on my doors. After this, I had to block his number from all of my phones, all of my social media platforms, including email and LinkedIn, and his work number that he was using the company phone to call me from. I also caught him showing up to events that he knew I was going to be at. And all I can think is, thank God I decided to do this in public. That was so traumatizing. And all I could think was, if this is how he acted in public, I don't even want to imagine what he would have acted like if I would have went through with it in private. And mind you, from the day I met this man to the day I blocked him was no more than 4 months. So if you have been deeply involved with someone, especially if it's been for a long period of time, and there is any doubt in your mind that they are capable of violent tendencies, end it over the phone. End it over the phone. And if you have to end it in person because you feel like you need that, not just because you're trying to be a good person, because being a good person is not worth it, make sure you are in a public, well-lit area that you can easily escape from, because it is simply not worth the risk.
Boyfriend.
If I had not followed this advice, I am telling you all, I would not be here today. And there are many witnesses that would back me up on that statement. Okay, I'm gonna get really real on here for a minute and really vulnerable. Unfortunately, I couldn't stitch the original creator. I want to share a little bit of my story for anybody who needs to hear it, because A, you are not alone. B, you can do it. C, if you see this and you need support and you feel alone, reach out to me. Seriously, I was living in the Pacific Northwest. I am from New England, so already, I'm kind of away from my friends and family. I was really vulnerable. I got into a very textbook, very dangerously abusive relationship. I tried many times over the years to leave this man. He just kept pulling me back in with threats, threatening my life, threatening his life. This man was physically violent with me. I don't want to get into the details because it's just too much. But I wholeheartedly believe that I would not be here if I had not followed the advice from the original video. So I had to ghost the man I had lived with for 4 years and secretly relocate back home to New England without him knowing, which was really hard to pull off, but I was able to do it, and I want to kind of give some advice on how. So first things first, I kind of made a mental list of everything that I knew that was a non-negotiable for me to have with me back home in New England. And then I very, very slowly mailed those things home in small amounts, so this man did not realize they were missing from the house. You know, because obviously he's going to be like, why are you mailing your birth certificate home? Like, why are you mailing like your childhood photo albums home? Like, why are you mailing these sentimental things home? You know, that would be obvious. The second thing is I sold my car after I left. So I arranged for the buyer to pick it up the day after I got on the plane so that my ex couldn't sabotage the car. Like if he knew I was selling it and going on a trip, like a quick trip home, he would have slashed the tires 100% or done something to sabotage me 100%. Sorry, I'm kind of ranting at this point. It's obviously hard to talk about, but yeah, I'll tag the original creator so you can watch the whole thing. But yeah, essentially, like, don't leave a man, like, don't tell a man you're leaving him in person. Just don't. I also quickly want to add, even men who aren't abusive or violent during the relationship, you never know, like they could flip a switch real quick when you try to leave them. I have witnessed that happen firsthand. Just don't even take any risks, to be honest.
I just wanted to pipe in with a personal experience as a child. And again, why? Because I didn't understand it at the time, but now as an adult and now in several situations where I had to be there for somebody who was leaving a partner or even in my case when I had to leave my husband. And I woke up one morning, Mom woke me up, I'm 10 years old, and she's like, pack your bags, we're going camping. Like, grab your stuff. And I'm like, oh, sweet, this is great. I love camping. Oh. It was summertime. Dad had left for work. And we packed the bags, and Mom just started driving. Just kept driving, and we're like, where are we going? There's no camping sites here. Mom dropped me and my two younger brothers off at a shelter, a woman's shelter, and just left us there. Kind of like we were very confused. And then we were surrounded by a lot of other kids, a lot of other women, and I realized it was a safe house. And we weren't even allowed to really go outside. We were essentially in a lockdown for protection. And later learned Dad had been served divorce papers when he went to work. He came home, his kids are gone, the house is empty, and he had no idea where we were at. And it was undoubtedly a shock to him. And for a long time I didn't understand why Mom did that. Dad, they were married for 20 years, they had 5 kids. And Dad, while he was Dad was a bit scary, I will admit. And my mom has since passed, so I can't talk to her about this, but I understand now what she did. She calculated this quiet exit. She did everything. She studied. She knew exactly how to escape because she didn't know what Dad's reaction was going to be. When she said that she's divorced, she had no idea. She had no way of really knowing how he was going to react, and she did the right thing. I'm very good friends with my dad. You know, like he's, I love my father, but I understand every reason why Mom did all the normal things as a housewife, when saw Dad off, packed us up, and she ran. And that's the right thing to do. So, I guess, yes, this may look kind of cruel, it may be really hard. But when it's time to leave, you just leave. You just leave.
Stop this business of breaking up with people in person. He goes on to say you'd rather be the jerk that breaks up with someone over the phone. I would add to that and say the day you decide to break up with the person, if they know where you live, go somewhere else. Leave town. Go visit your sister, your brother, your parents, your friend, and break up with the person. And don't be home for a while until you know you're actually safe. The person you date and the person you break up with are 2 different people. You don't know if the person you break up with will hurt you. I've said this before, a lot of men can't be told no. So if you break up with them, you're essentially telling them no. You're rejecting them, and they will harm you. They will harm you, and they won't even care about going to jail. They will harm you. Now you've lost your life. What is that gonna help? I love him. I care about him. I want to give him the respect he deserves. Next thing, you're in a coffin. He doesn't care to give you the respect. You need to put your peace and safety first. Don't break up with people in person, alone, in private. Don't do it. Don't do it. You don't know people. You never fully know someone. You never fully know what they will do when they're angry. Just because you've been dating married for years, you just never know. This is a human being who's significantly stronger than you. Why are you testing that? Why are you testing them?
Just don't have one. That's the number one way to not be unalived by a man that is supposed to be your romantic partner. Just don't have one.
Yeah, I agree with the last lady. Don't deal with them at all. Stop dealing with them, because at this point in time, if you're going to deal with them, and it has to be, I don't know, but exceptional. I know nobody is perfect, okay? But the stories and the things we are hearing is just, to me, is crazy, okay? I don't know about you, but if you're going to break up with your boyfriend, your husband, and all that, unless you know he's safe, or you guys have come to that place in your relationship where you both know that, do you know what, this is it, it's over. But if the person is toxic, well, a word to the wise is always enough, all right? Take precaution or take caution while you deal with people like that, just to prevent that from happening. I didn't say you heard a professional talking about it, okay? So be very, very careful when you're, going on dates and meeting certain men. Everything can, swish within a second with certain men, all right? So keep your eyes and your ears and everything alert. The moment you get the least, all right, just smile and then leave. Or like the last lady said, don't deal with them at all. But anyway, let me know your thoughts about all of this in the comment section. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again with another video. Take care of yourselves. Bye.